It was late March and Jasmine Brown was working the late shift at the new Dollar Mart in North Geelong. Dollar Mart was a new national department store chain. The first stores had opened across Sydney and Melbourne before moving into Geelong and other regional cities. Dollar Mart was a combination of general and home DIY department stores, with the aim of cutting into the market share of well-established brands like Kmart, Target and Bunnings. Dollar Mart, though, was not an American chain moving in, but had been founded and built by Italian billionaire Giovanni Valentino Vinci, and he had had his sights set on overthrowing the established brands in Australia. None of this mattered to Jasmine Brown, however, as she saw off the last of her staff that night and settled in for the last hour of her shift, alone. Jasmine was a mid-30s manager who had left Bunnings and been part of the first staff intake for the new North Geelong Dollar Mart store. 3 years later, she was well established in her role. Like every other day she worked, Jasmine had spent her day dealing with customer complaints, staffing issues, and missing stock. There had been screaming children at the restaurant end of the store and administration issues in the upper-level offices. It was now 10 o'clock at night, and the silence that fell upon the massive store was intense. For half an hour, Jasmine had walked the length of the store, fixing up clip strips here and there in the aisles and returning stock to their place on the shelves. With the deep silence, the sharp sound of her steel-capped boots echoed loudly upon the floor. In one aisle, Jasmine saw a plush dog toy on the ground. She walked over and picked it up. It was a soft purple octopus. Its label was still intact. She paused. The toy reminded her of her own dog, a Jack Russell Terrier called Schmookums. This was just the kind of toy Schmookums would love. Too bad he'd destroy it in 5 minutes, she thought, and set the toy back on the shelf. Jasmine froze. Her heart beat in her chest. She was meant to be alone. What was that? She thought, and slowly turned her head. With careful footsteps, Jasmine made her way out of the aisle and looked around. There was no movement, no strange shadows. In that moment there was only silence. Jasmine stood stock still, letting her gaze scan the nearby aisles. There was no follow-up noise. Jasmine walked forward a bit, checking aisles. She saw no one. She felt her heartbeat begin to return to normal when she heard the discreet staff door open and close. Jasmine snapped her head around, eyes wide. She turned and strode towards the front of the store. As she left the aisle and entered the main customer service area at the store's front, her eyes swept back and forth, seeking anyone who might still be around. Perhaps there was still a staff member after all who'd been slow in leaving. Jasmine reached the foyer and halted. The entrance had 2 main doors in an all-glass enclosure. Just to her left was the discreet staff door that was used when the main entrance doors had been shut and locked for the night. But her eyes never left the glass. It was black, and with all the store lights on, the glass reflected herself and the entire store behind her. She could not see anything beyond. Jasmine stood for a moment, expecting a face to appear at the window, or a bloody hand, or a knife dripping with blood. Her imagination was running wild and loose and with all the possibilities, and she tried feebly to rein it in. Nothing appeared at the window. Jasmine walked forward, almost casually, but every sense alert now for anything out of the ordinary. She reached the door and quickly ensured that it was fully closed. Only a key on the other side would be able to open the door. Jasmine sighed and let her shoulders sag. She stepped back. If anyone was inside and they had left, then they would not be coming back in. She turned and looked at the store. There was only silence, and nothing in her field of vision was moving. With haste, Jasmine headed upstairs to the upper level offices. Once there, she sat down at one of the staff computers and logged onto the store's multi-camera security system. There were cameras throughout the store and around the building outside. She brought up the interior cameras of the main entrance and wound it back a short period. Then she saw it. The discreet staff door that had been left open, and a gust of wind had slammed it shut. She slumped back in her chair, relieved, but also wondering what the other noise was that she had heard. Maybe she had imagined it. Right now that seemed possible, even though she at the time was convinced she had heard something. Maybe the metal roofing had made that noise. It had been a hot day, and the metal roof was perhaps just settling in the now cool night air. Whatever it was, Jasmine now breathed a lot easier. She was convinced she was in fact alone and had always been alone in the store all along. Damn night shifts, she said to herself, deciding that she hated these late shifts after all, despite the extra pay that they brought. Jasmine logged off the computer she had been using, left the staff office, and grabbed herself a glass of water from the staff room. She drank it in one gulp, set the glass down, and headed downstairs. Her shift was nearly over now, and she was going to do the final closing. Down in the main foyer, Jasmine stood at the power box and began flicking switches. The lights in all the stores went out. The power to the computers upstairs all went out, and the power to the cash registers all went out. The only power running was to the fridges at the front of the store and in the store's restaurant. Those were another row of switches entirely and never turned off. Jasmine closed the power box, double-checked the main doors were locked, and then set the alarm and strode quickly to the discreet staff door. She pushed it open and stepped outside. She firmly closed the door behind her and ensured that it would not open again. It was shut tight, and only a key would now open the door from the outside. There was no door handle. The air was cool and chilled, and Jasmine sighed in relief. The coolness of the air felt like it was draining away all of her work tensions. She was thankful the day was finally done. While standing there, she took her phone, opened the staff app, and signed out of her shift. Then she put her phone back in her pocket and began to walk slowly across the large car park to her car. Jasmine's 2008 Toyota Corolla, dirty, beat up, and in need of a service, sat in its usual parking spot in the far corner of the car park. She quietly cursed the company policy that said the car parks closest to the store had to be left free for customers. As she walked along, her gaze swept the rest of the car park as well as the busy main road that the Dollar Mart faced out towards. Cars raced past at the legal 70-kilometre-hour speed limit. She had made it halfway across the car park when a chill ran down her spine and she froze on the spot. She frowned and looked around. Most of the car park was shrouded in deep black shadow. But her senses were alert. She felt eyes watching her, but as hard as she looked, Jasmine could not see anyone. The car park did not lack hiding spots so late at night, however. With pursed lips, she took a deep breath and walked briskly across the rest of the car park. Her eyes darted here and there. The wind picked up. She felt it behind her, whistling past her ears. Did she just hear footsteps? She could not be sure. Now her skin was clammy with anxious sweat once more, and she was nearly running to her car. Finally, she reached it. Her hand slammed against the window, and she jammed her key into the driver's side door lock. She was moments away from the safety of her car. Early the next morning, before the sun had even risen over the horizon, the staff of Dollar Mart's morning shift began to arrive at 5:30 a.m. They parked in their scattered car parking spots and waited for the morning shift manager to arrive and open the store. A group of staff had gathered outside the discreet staff door and began talking amongst themselves. One of their group noticed a white, dirty, beat-up 2008 Toyota Corolla sitting in the far corner of the car park. "Hey, Isn't that Jasmine's car over there? Others in the group turned and agreed. She's not opening today. What's she doing here? Another commented. Come on, let's check it out, one of them said. Something doesn't feel right. The group of them walked across the car park to Jasmine's car. It was empty. The doors were locked. The driver's side car door window had two massive cracks running through it. The keys were in the ignition and her phone was in the front passenger side car seat. Jasmine was not there. Jasmine was never seen again, and questions remained regarding the state of her car and just what happened. The store's cameras were of no use. There was too little light in that corner of the car park. They could see a black shadow of a figure approach the car, but what followed was too shrouded in shadow to see clearly. If you enjoyed this content, then please like, subscribe, and share. It would help us immensely. Would you like to see these videos early, before everyone else, or enjoy exclusive content? Then join Legio Centurion Films on Patreon. The greater the support, the more often we can create video content for you. Check out our other YouTube channel for all our other content released by Legio Centurion Films. There you will enjoy everything from our latest short films to examples of showreel scenes. You can also enjoy this content on our website, www.l-cfilms.com.au.